Thanks a lot for coming in.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Something about this community appeals to you?
This is a wonderful place to live.
For Kelowna Now, this is Kent Mulgat. And we're joined by Janice Taylor, founder of Mizzou, a Kelowna-based online platform designed to be safe for kids.
Yes, that's exactly right.
But today, we really wanted to talk about this petition that you have forwarded that is designed to get at least some federal legislation in place to put some better protection up for our children. Tell us about the petition. What's it all about?
So really the last 10 years we've seen a sharp increase in the amount of Instagram and social media usage amongst children, youth, and adults. And in this last 10 years, we've also seen a sharp increase in the impact on a lot of mental health markers. And at the same time, we've also learned in the last 10 years that much of our data and privacies kind of go whoop into the vacuum, and the big tech companies are mowing it up. And when we looked at it, we said, well, what's in place to protect kids? Because right now we looked at what's happened in the United States. There's something called COPPA, which is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Over in UK and Europe, we see GDPR, and that's really age verification and age-gated places where they're safe for kids.
And there's nothing like that?
Nothing in Canada. And we were shocked, being in technology, a tech entrepreneur. I've been fighting this fight for a long time. I've been immersed studying the impacts of social media for this last 9 years. And really we're like, wow, there's really no legislation in place that really protects children. And from a parent point of view, I was really stunned, because as a parent of two girls, I was like, what do you mean there's no legislation?
Right. Okay, let's talk about what the petition really should have in it in a moment. But first, what are the impacts of this social media world that our young people are living in?
What has really happened is that the average tween spends between 7 and 9 hours a day immersed in social media. So that's number one. If you add up all the time that they're in there, that's content that's not appropriate. They're put into what we call filter bubbles. That's how the algorithms work. Every time you like something or pause on something, it creates a shadow profile to say, oh, this child is X, Y, and Z. And at the same time, it's built to actually create more fear in kids, more insecurities. There's lots of comparisons. And so it's not a surprise that we've seen this really sharp increase, sometimes 50% or more, when we're looking at youth when it comes to anxiety, depression, suicide rates are up. And there's all of this correlated relationship back to how much time they've been on social media. And I think it's taken all of us by storm. And I think now's the time to sort of say, okay, the Wild Wild West has happened. Now what do we do in order to combat some of this, but at the same time create some safeguards?
Okay, but no federal legislation is going to cut some kids' time on social media from 7 hours a day down to 3. What can it do?
It can create more, first of all, basic sort of legislation for the big tech companies to behave more appropriately.
Okay, and I think it gets into a lot of the data extraction that these companies are doing.
And I think that parents need to understand and people need to understand is why that data extraction is important. So why are they taking the data without our permission, and what does it actually do?
And that was one of the core things I was reading in what you wanted, is that there should be parental consent before any tracking of our children and data extraction takes place.
So data extraction is built for two things. Can I predict their behavior for the future, and can I control it? And it's the second component that's really startling to me. Can I control what is going to happen? What will this child do, so that I can feed them advertising in order to further predict and control their behavior? So for me as a parent, essentially your child's life is for sale. Their pictures, their data, their behavior, to put them into a very strict algorithmic loop. I want to give them the same information over and over and over again so I can further predict and control and keep them there without parents having any say that happens. None.
Could legislation stop that?
Yes, they can.
How would that look? So this legislation is in place, and I'm a parent. Am I going to be getting notifications all the time? Oh,
yes.
Can I use information? I guess the answer would just be no every time.
Well, if you wanted it to be. But anytime your data is going to be sold to someone else, so that's the third party aspect, shouldn't I as a parent be asked, is it okay if we sell your information to these 20 other people who want your kids' pictures?
That should be true for all of us, never mind just kids.
I know, that should be, and if that question bothers you, then okay. But really, shouldn't that be the question?
Right. So how's it doing, this petition of yours? You need
Great.
to collect 500?
Yeah, so we launched just 10 days ago, and we're already over 300 signatures. So we need 500 signatures, and then the House of Commons has to take that up. They need to discuss it on the floor.
And as we have this conversation, you are jetting off to where?
So I'm headed to Los Angeles and California this week, and next week I'm in Ottawa. And so I'm headed to Toronto and Ottawa. And it's really to drum up more support for this. Our local MP, Stephen Fuhr, he's backed this petition without question immediately. He said, of course. This isn't really for us to be oppositional to our government. I think that all of us, even our governments, were kind of taken away with big tech and data hoovering of the world and what we call surveillance capitalism. Nobody really understood what it meant to say yes to everything that was free. We didn't know we were being packaged and sold. And I'm certain that most parents don't even realize that their kids are being packaged and sold and their future. And I felt as a parent that that was just wrong. And being in the underbelly of technology, I understood intimately how it was engineered and what it's really built for. So again, data privacy isn't necessarily about the data point. It's about how it predicts and controls the behavior of your child without your permission. It's no different than food. You know, when we look at food and we read the labels, right? You're always reading labels now.
Yeah.
What parent isn't reading labels? Because you're going to go, is that healthy for them? The same labels that you read for food needs to be on every piece of digital that your children are interacting in. And you need to read the label. And you need to say, okay, third-party sharing, how do I have control over that?
Right. And it sounds like the legislation that you're suggesting isn't going to do it all, but at least it gets the foot in the door. Baseline legislation that will probably be a project that lasts forever.
Yes, I think I've unfortunately or fortunately suddenly found myself in this realm, which I never imagined I would be. And I think that this is the baseline. We need to open it up to all different types of industries as well. I think it's great that we're leading this from inside the tech industry. We're the experts on this. But then you need to bring education and health practitioners. They all need to be around the table around deciding on this legislation. So when you talked about the mental health impacts, you know, there's very clear indicators of how the technology is engineered for addiction. It's engineered to make someone feel bad about themselves and stay perpetually. It's engineered that way. So we need to look at all aspects of it. But what this gives us, at least in Canada, is equal footing with the US, equal footing with Europe and into the UK. Canada needs to lead this as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
We're about family and community. You know, that's our kind of core ethic. We're really have always been about early child prevention. We've been ahead of the curve when it comes to prevention, but we've been really behind when it comes to this legislation.
Well, it sounds like it's something that we need to at least get started with.
Yes, we do. So we need to get to 500.
All right. Thanks for coming in and telling us about it.
Thank you.
Janice Taylor from Mizzou, and thank you for watching Kelowna Now.